The rancher, Cole Maddox, had lived through ice storms, cattle stampedes, and the night he'd nearly lost his own brother on a mountain ridge, but nothing froze him like the sight of the little girl standing alone in the snow. Dawn hadn't even broken yet. The fields were dark sheets of white, and the wind clawed at the world like something alive. Cole had been walking out to check on the horses when he saw the flickering lantern, bobbing weakly, almost swallowed by the storm. When he moved closer, he saw her, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Shivering so violently, he wondered how she even stayed upright. Her brown hair was tangled, her cheeks red from the cold, and fear shined in her wide eyes. She looked like someone who had already spent too long being brave. He knelt in front of her, lifting the lantern from her tiny hands before she dropped it. "Sweetheart, where's your coat?" he asked gently, but she shook her head, tears threatening to fall. I couldn't find it," she whispered. "Mama said she'd be home before the snow got bad, but she didn't come home last night. I waited and waited, and when it got dark and scary, I saw your ranch lights. Mama told me if anything ever happened, I should find the man who lives by the big barn with the white roof. That's you, right?" Cole felt something in his chest tighten. Her mother knew him. Someone out there had trusted him enough to send their child through a blizzard in the middle of the night. He studied the girl again, her trembling lips, her small fists, the way she hugged herself for warmth. She reminded him of a memory he'd locked away long ago, the night he lost his father in a storm, much like this one. He wrapped his coat around her tiny shoulders without hesitation. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked as he lifted her into his arms. "Lila," she whispered, leaning into the warmth like a kitten curling into safety. "Mama said I should tell you. She went to the old logging road. She never goes there at night, but she said she had to. And when she didn't come back," her voice cracked. "Did something bad happen to her?" Cole swallowed hard. "You never lied to a child, but you also never broke them. We're gonna find your mama," he said. "I promise." Inside the ranch house, he sat her by the fire, gave her warm socks, and set a cup of hot cocoa in her small hands. She looked too fragile for this world, like someone who had been forced to grow up in one night. While she warmed up, Cole grabbed his truck keys, a rope, a flare kit, and a heavy-duty flashlight. He'd planned for a day of fixing fences, checking water lines, and feeding cattle, but fate had rewritten his morning. As he walked past Lila, she reached out suddenly and grabbed his sleeve. "Please don't leave me alone," she whispered, voice quivering. "Mama said the snow hides bad things." Cole's heart clenched. He picked her up again, wrapping the coat tighter around her. "Then you're coming with me," he said softly. "I'll keep you safe, and we'll bring your mama home together." The truck rumbled down the frozen road, its headlights cutting through sheets of falling snow. Lila sat close, watching the world blur past, her small hands gripping the seatbelt as though hanging onto hope itself. Cole noticed how she kept glancing at the door, as if worried the storm might reach inside and steal her away too. When they reached the turnoff toward the old logging trail, Lila lifted her head. "Mama said she heard something there," she murmured. "Like someone crying for help." Cole tensed. No one used this road anymore. Trees had grown thick along the sides, and in winter the trail was nearly impossible to navigate. Only someone desperate or someone following a call would go there. The deeper they drove, the worse the storm grew. Wind howled around them like a wounded animal. Snow piled thick beneath the truck tires, making every turn dangerous. Branches broke under the weight of frost, cracking like gunshots. Yet Lila didn't complain. She just watched, silent, holding on to a hope that flickered as weakly as the lantern she carried earlier. After nearly an hour, the road narrowed so much Cole had no choice but to stop. "We walk from here," he said quietly. Lila nodded bravely, though he could see fear trembling in her chest. He lifted her again, wrapping a blanket around her small body, and pushed into the storm. They trekked through knee-deep snow, Cole scanning every direction with his flashlight. The beam bounced off frost-glazed branches, empty ditches, fallen logs. But then something caught his eye, a flash of red. He moved closer, heart thundering. It was cloth, torn, frozen stiff. "A scarf," Lila gasped. "That's Mama's!" she cried. Cole pocketed it and quickened his pace. following the faint trail of disturbed snow. Footprints, drag marks, signs of someone struggling. Lila buried her face in his shoulder, whispering her mother's name over and over like a prayer. Then they heard it, a faint sound, so soft it almost blended with the wind. A voice, weak, strained, calling out, "Help!" Cole's pulse kicked hard. He pushed forward, shouting into the storm, "We're coming! Hold on!" Lila lifted her head, eyes wide with desperate hope. "Mama, Mama!" she screamed, and somewhere in the blinding white, a voice answered back. "The deal besaitisness and meditación." Chapter 2, long, emotional, uninterrupted paragraphs. Cole followed the fragile voice deeper into the woods, heart pounding as the cry grew clearer. The snow thickened, attacking their faces like sharp needles, and the cold gnawed at his legs, but he didn't slow. Lila lifted her head, clinging to him with renewed strength. "That's her, that's her," she whispered. He tightened his grip on her and pushed through a grove of leaning pines. And then, at the base of a downed tree, half buried beneath a sheet of snow, he saw her, Lila's mother, Claire. She lay crumpled on her side, her clothes torn, her hair frozen against her cheeks. One leg was twisted unnaturally, and her hands shook violently from cold. Her lips were blue, her eyes half open, and for a terrifying moment Cole thought he was too late. But then her eyes flickered, landing on Lila. A weak smile cracked her frozen lips. "Baby," she whispered. Lila squirmed out of Cole's arms and fell to her knees in the snow, wrapping herself around her mother, sobbing. Claire's frozen fingers lifted, touching her daughter's cheek. "I told you." "Find him," she rasped. Cole knelt beside them, checking her pulse, weak but real. "Claire, can you hear me?" he asked firmly. She nodded faintly, wincing from pain. "The tree fell last night. I couldn't move." Her breath hitched. "I tried calling. I didn't think anyone would hear me." Cole reached out, brushing snow from her face. "Your little girl heard enough," he said. "And she brought me." The temperature was dropping fast, too fast. If he didn't get Claire out of here soon, hypothermia would steal her from Lila forever. He wrapped her in every spare blanket, lifted her carefully into his arms, and turned back toward the trail. But the storm had grown worse, erasing their footprints and burying the path. Wind roared so loudly he could barely hear his own thoughts. Lila clung to his coat, determined not to let go. Claire's breathing was shallow, each exhale weaker than the last. Cole fought against the gale, every step like dragging a mountain. His muscles burned, his lungs ached from the freezing air, and the weight of carrying both mother and child began to grind him down. But he refused to stop. When they finally reached the truck, Cole laid Claire carefully across the back seat, turning up the heater full blast. Lila crawled beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. Claire's eyes fluttered open again as warmth slowly seeped into her body. "You came for me," she whispered. Cole turned, meeting her gaze. "No," he said softly. "Your daughter came for you. I just followed her lead." Claire tried to smile, tears freezing on her lashes. "I'm so proud of you." "Lila!" The girl buried her face against her mother's chest and sobbed quietly. The drive back was agonizingly slow, the storm clawing at the truck. But Cole kept his hands steady on the wheel, refusing to let fear win. When they reached the ranch, he carried Claire inside, laying her near the fire. Heat blankets and warm broth slowly brought color back to her face. Cole watched as Lila curled into her mother's side, relief finally softening her tiny features. Hours passed, the storm outside weakening, until Claire spoke again, stronger this time. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. Cole shook his head. "You don't owe me a thing." But she looked at him with something deeper, something like understanding. "You saved the only person I have in this world," she whispered. "That means everything." Cole felt something shift inside him then, something warm, unexpected. Maybe he had been living alone for too long. Maybe fate had a way of dragging people together in the middle of storms. Not to break them, but to rebuild them. Days later, when the storm cleared and Claire was able to walk again with crutches, she and Lila stood on Cole's porch, ready to return home. Lila turned, running to Cole and hugging him tightly. "You brought my mama back," she whispered. "I'll never forget." He hugged her back, feeling a strange fullness in his chest. Claire met his eyes, gratitude shining in them like sunlight on snow. "If you ever need anything," she said softly, "we're just down the road." Cole watched them walk away, hand in hand, their footsteps leaving a trail of hope across the white fields. And deep inside he knew the truth. He hadn't just saved them. They had saved him too, pulled him out of years of loneliness and silence. Sometimes it took a storm to bring people together. Sometimes it took a little girl standing barefoot in the snow, whispering, "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night," to remind a man that life still had meaning. And sometimes fate brought the right people to your door at exactly the right moment.